Hello everyone, this is Varun Bansal, your host for the session, and I hope day one of AZ-900 Bootcamp went pretty well and you were able to grasp the concept about what Azure is and what are its basic functionalities and features. So now, without any further delay, let's begin with the day two of our Microsoft Azure Bootcamp of AZ-900 Day 2. And today as well, we have with us our elite speaker, Miss C.R. Bhargavi ma'am, who will be taking the session forward, and she'll be introducing you to some more advanced concepts of Azure and its features. So, without any further delay, let's start with the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Varun. Let me share my screen and let's get started with the today's concept. Can you please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am. Your screen is visible.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Today we would be covering on the module 3 and module 4 of Azure concepts, which is the core solutions as well as the IoT related things by today, which will be part of the AZ-900 certifications exam that what we have to prepare. And we would be going through the concepts that are related uh, for the core solutions. When it comes to core solution, we would be seeing on the IoT Azure Sphere, and then we would be seeing on the Synapse Analytics to Databricks, and then how does AI and ML can be implemented in Azure. And then we would also be seeing Azure management tools, like how does the portal work, and then when how you can do the CLI and others, and then how can you monitor, how can you check the health and advisor. All these things will be covered under the module 3, and this plays the major part of the AZ-900 certifications, and um, we will be getting the questions mostly based on these things, and we will be kickstarting with the today's concept. And when it comes to Azure solutions, we will be covering most on the Internet of Things, and then we will be covering on the IoT Central and Azure Sphere. And we will be also seeing about the Azure Sphere Analytics, Azure Synapse Analytics, and then HD Insight and Azure Databricks as well. And then we have Azure Machine Learning, Cognitive Services, and Azure Bot Service, which are available under Azure. And then we do have serverless computing solutions, which includes Azure Functions and Logic Apps. And apart from that, we do have Azure DevOps, GitHub, GitHub Actions, and Azure Test Labs. And when it comes to Azure Internet of Things, um, we may know or we might not know that Internet of Things is one of the trendy things that is getting trended over the market. um, Internet of Things is nothing but it's the uh, ability of the devices to garner and then relay information for your data analysis. when it comes for uh, when it comes for Internet of Things, in Azure, what happens is we do have three kind of things, which is IoT Central and IoT Hub, and then we do have Sphere. IoT Central is a fully managed global IoT SaaS solution, which we saw yesterday, like software as a service solution, and that makes it easy to connect, monitor, and manage IoT asset at scale. When it comes for IoT Hub, it's a fully managed service hosted in cloud that acts as the central message hub for bidirectional communication. Whereas in central, it will be a single direction, but when it comes for hub, it will be a bidirectional communication between the IoT applications and the devices it manages. And when it comes for Spear, what happens is it will be a secured high level application platform with built in communication and security feature for internet connected devices. Spear is one of the um, Spear is Spear is one of the resource that is rarely used, whereas when it compares to Central and IoT Hub, it will be a commonly used ones. And we will be seeing on the implementation of IoT Hub, and we will be we will be walking through how to connect the devices and in the Azure portal, and we will be seeing that. And when it comes to big data and analytics, we do have uh, we do have things that are being covered for Azure, which will be part of Azure Synapse Analytics, which is a cloud based enterprise data warehouse where we will be able to store the large number of data inside it. And we do have something called as Azure Databricks. It is it is a Apache Spark based analytics service, and then we do have something called as HD Insight, which will be a fully managed and open source analytics service for the enterprises that are available. And with all these things, uh, when you want to perform the ETL things which are done using the machine learning, you will be able to perform these. You will be able to do all the big data related things like whatever it may be, and you will be able to integrate those, and you can work with these things. And then when it comes for artificial intelligence and machine learning, you will be having the cognitive service, bot service, and then Azure machine learning as well, where your when you give the when I mean when you want to develop, train, and deploy the machine learning models, you will be able to use the machine learning, Azure machine learning. And then in cognitive services, which will be like what we saw yesterday in demo, you will be able to you do have a n number of resources that are available under the cognitive services, where you can integrate that with when you want to hear or speak or understand and interrupt a user's needs, then you would be going for a cognitive services. And not just it's not just stops here. When you want to read from a form, or when you want to do some kind of face recognition, or when you want to do some speech recognition, all those kind of services will be coming under the cognitive services. And when it comes for Azure bot service, this is where the chatbot and the other things are being developed, which is develop intelligent enterprise grade bots. It's not just chatbot, where bots are mainly like software bots, which will be used to do the kind of action automatically, right? So whatever kind of the automatic action that what you want to perform, you will be able to use the Azure bot service. And creating a bot service and integrating it with the Power Apps is also possible, so you will be able to integrate that, and you can do a number of things behind the scene. And post that, we will be seeing how to create the how you we will be seeing one demo in these as well. Once we complete all the parts, and we will get back to the Azure portal, and we will see all at once. And what what does server computing mean? Sorry, serverless computing. Serverless computing is something like, when it comes for Azure function, it is a event based code running your service and not the underlying infrastructure, meaning that it will be running your service based on the event that what you want to, that you have created for with the code. And when it comes for Azure logic apps, it is used for creating and orchestrating the automated task, and then it will also have the business process workflows to integrate the apps. So these all are the resources that are available, like Azure functions and Azure logic apps are available to us when it comes in Azure for serverless computing. And then when you want to develop your app with DevOps and GitHub, um, you want to know what is DevOps and GitHub, right? So we will see that, and it is also possible in um, Azure, where you would be using the Azure DevOps to develop your DevOps. And what does Azure DevOps mean here is the development collaboration tool, including the pipelines, Kanban boards, and the automated cloud-based load testing. And what does GitHub mean? GitHub is like development hosting with version control, source code, and management, bug task management. So it's what does GitHub Actions for Azure mean is automate software workflow to build a test, and deploy from within the GitHub. And we do have something called as Azure Dev Test Labs, which will be used to create environment in Azure without without having the much cost being spent around it, and to test and do other things, we will be using the Azure Test Labs, and we will be doing that to control the cost that what we have to put that what we have been putting around. And when it comes to management tools, we have Azure Portal and Azure PowerShell, and we can that can be Azure mobile app or command line interface or REST API or Cloud Shell, or that can be of anything that is available. Either you can access it in portal, or it's that way. All these things will be controlled by the resource manager, like what we saw yesterday. There can be only one Azure resource manager that is available um, for for one kind of email that what you are creating for. And when it comes for the usage that what you want to do, that you can use in portal or PowerShell, or that can be of anything, but all these things will be controlled only by the resource manager. And when you see what would be what would be making the recommendations based on the best practices, and when you want to do deployments, it has to be in optimized thing, right? So all these things will be done via the Azure advisor, and that will be having that will be enabling the reliability, security, performance, cost, and the operational excellence that are available to you. And that will make the uh, things that are running behind with high availability, and make it good secure, and that will make the performance good. And also it will have the operational excellence that has been there. And the cost is also being reduced because advisor will always make you recommendations that are on the best practices that what you need. So this is all the job of the Azure advisor when you want to deploy something, when you want to deploy the Azure resources into the Azure. So Azure advisor will do all these things and make you feel comfortable when you do the deployments. And Azure Monitor is something which will be making which will maximize the availability and the performance of the applications and the services by collecting, analyzing, and acting on telemetry from cloud and on-premise environment. What it would be doing is it would be checking on the, it would be checking at the background on the alerts, and then it would be checking on the insights that the application has. Also it would be checking on the logs that it would be needing, like what we saw yesterday, like there would be activity log for all the resources that are being created, right? So you would be the Azure Monitor will be checking the log analytics, and then it would also set smart alerts then and there whenever required. And then what happens is it would also used to trigger the alerts whenever you need, and whenever something goes beyond whatever the expectation that what you have set for. And then it would also help you with the customized dashboard that what you need for your portal. So these all things are being taken care by the Azure Monitor. And when it comes for Azure Service Health is something like when you want to evaluate the Azure service with personalized guidance and support notifications, and what is the issue that is been causing it to be down, and what sometimes it may be due to update, or sometimes it may be due to some bug, sometimes it may be due to some man will think that what we do or something um, beyond our control will be happening, right? So Azure Service Health will help you in finding out all the um, all the health related issue of that particular resource, and will be helping you to set the notifications whenever it is down, or whenever you need some support, or when the issue gets resolved, when you raise some ticket, or when when you want some resolution updates. This Azure Service Health will be making you comfortable for you. And then when it comes for the Azure Health Services itself, what happens is um, it would be like the communication regarding the outages and the planned maintenance will there are some cases like you may have the planned maintenance and you have to be intimated, right? So all these things will be taken care by the Azure Service Health. And then it will be creating the advisories whenever it is said that the whenever it is said that the health has been down, and the reasons that what you have to sorry the reasons that what you have you want your mission to be running, or what health advisory that what you need from the resource will all be provided by the Azure Service Health. And then when it comes for ARM, which is Azure Resource Manager, these are the templates that are JavaScript object notation, which is JSON files, and that can be used to create and deploy Azure infrastructure without having to write any programming commands that what you would be doing um, uh, in the regular life, right? So all these things can be avoided, and you will be able to use just the JSON file, and create you will be able to create and deploy inside the Azure infrastructure. And what happens is it will be having few things in place, like it will be having the declarative syntax that what it needs to be expected, and you have to provide the syntax for the same. And when it goes for the repeatable results, then you would be going for sure for Azure Resource Manager. That's because it's a simple JSON file, right? So it will be easy for you to create and deploy in the Azure infrastructure, so that when it comes for the repeatable thing, then that would be a easy thing for you to create and deploy. And it would be having an orchestration rule, and which will be making you a step by step action on what things that what you want to do. And then it will be having the modular files in it. And also it has a main capability, like a built-in validation will be there inside it. And you can also export the code whenever that you want to make it do. So these all things are possible when you use the Azure Resource Manager in you. So Azure Resource Manager is something like, we will be having the template, and once the template is being submitted, what happens is it would be checking for the non-template infrastructure as a code as well. The difference between the uh, Azure Resource Manager and the ones which are being without the resource manager is something like the which is mentioned here. When you have the resource manager, you just have to put the template once, and your work is done. But when it comes for without a resource manager, what happens is the non-template infrastructure as a code, which is multiple imperative put calls are being done. So there are multiple things that needs to be done. So that is a kind of a tedious task, right? So that can be avoided when you use the Azure Resource Manager. And uh, until here, we are done with the module 3, and we saw about the services that are related to IoT, big data and analytics, and the development tools. We saw everything in a basic level. And since AZ900 is a fundamentals, you need to know all the concepts that are available in Azure, but not at a deeper level. When you want to go for a deeper level, then there are different certifications that are available in Azure itself. Like when you want to go ahead and explore on the machine learning things, then there is a separate certification for the machine learning itself. So we can go ahead and use that one. Since AZ900 is a very fundamental certification, we would be seeing all these things in a basic level. And our understanding should be like we understood these things, and we will be able to pitch in and do the work whenever it is given to you. So that's the basic level of idea that what you should be having at this moment. And when it comes for the security tools and feature, which is we are stepping into the module 4, which is security tools and feature. We will be seeing more on the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and then we will be seeing on Microsoft Sentinel, and we will also be seeing on what is Key Vault, and then what does Azure dedicated host do. So these all things are being part of the security tools and feature domain, and this comes under the module 4, and we would be seeing in deep of it. Azure Defender for Cloud Azure Defender for Cloud is a monitoring service that provides the threat protection across both Azure and on-premises data center. Azure Defender is something like a Microsoft Defender that is available in your mission. So it's the same thing that is available that is available as well. Microsoft Defender, which is available in your mission to protect the virus, right? So it's the same thing that is available for cloud as well, where it will be detecting and blocking the malware it that if it does not come, and then it provides the security recommendation that what you have to do for your resources, and then it will be analyzing and identifying the potential attacks that what happens, and then with just in time access control for port, it would be providing you some control for the ports. So these are the major things that happens when it comes to a Azure Defender for Cloud. And yeah, we will be seeing what does Azure how does Microsoft Defender for Cloud works, and we will be setting the security alert for the same as well once we understand the cloud. Defender for Cloud will have few capabilities inside it. One is policy compliance, another one is continuous assessment, next one is tailored recommendations, and the fourth one is threat protection. What does policy compliance mean here is it would be running policies across management groups, and then it will also run policies across subscription or tenants that are available when you are using Azure Databricks or ML related things. You would be creating the tenants for sure, right? So all these this policy compliance will be making sure that the policies are being applied across all the management groups or subscriptions or the tenants that are available. And then when it comes for continuous assessment, what happens is assess new and deployed resources to ensure that they are configured properly. When something has not been configured properly, then what it does is it would be throwing an alert to you and will be intimating you immediately, and will be sending over the mail, and you until then it will make sure that it has not been affected by any of the malware that the resource can be affected with, and it would be stating that you have to take the action immediately and make it work for it. And you can make the recommendation tailored for yourself, meaning you can change the recommendations for your convenience and make it work for you. Recommendations based on existing workload with instruction on how to implement them. um, for some workload you may know the instruction, right? So for them you can tailor the recommendation, and for some you may not know. For that you can still enable it. That recommendation tailoring is possible when it comes there. And when it comes for threat protection, it will be analyzing attempted threat through alert and impacted resource report, meaning the threat protection will be running 24 by 7, or when the day when you deploy the resource, right? So that from that day the threat protection will be in place, and it would be running in background and will be intimating you whenever whenever you have some malware. You will be intimated through mail or alert, which whatever you had set for, and with that you have to take the action on it and then work based on that. And until that threat is been until that threat that if it finds a threat, until that threat is been removed, it will not be moving further at all, and you have to make it 100% secure for the Azure cloud as a whole, to make it running continuously. And then when it comes for Microsoft Sentinel, what happens is it is a security information and event management, which is SIEM. Microsoft Sentinel security information and event management solution, and that provides security and analytics, and it also has the threat intelligence across the enterprise. What it would be doing is it would be collecting the data means that it would be having the security data across your full enterprise. And then what happens is it would be detecting whether you have any threat with you or not, with the threat intelligence that it has inside it. The Sentinel will be having these four steps together. First is collect, and then detect. Third is investigate, and then it would be responding. So once it detects, it would be investigating critical incidents while guided by artificial intelligence. And when this is also done, it would be responding rapidly and automate the protection that what is needed for that threat to be protected. So it would be doing all these kind of the uh, necessary necessary intelligence that what it needs across the whole enterprise that it wants to be. Few in connector and integrator are like Microsoft 365 Defender, and then Azure AD, which is Azure Active Directory, and then we will be having the Azure Advanced Threat Protection, Azure Cloud App Security. In many companies we do use a single sign on, right? So we will be having mostly based on the Azure Active Directory, and that becomes the single sign on that what we do regularly. And even now what they made is to make it the Azure Active Directory to be more secure. They have enabled the two-step validation, which is you have to verify it in your phone as well and make it work for you. So those kind of simple um, simple security things are also being included in daily basis, and that is also been part of the improvements that what we can do. And those are being taken care as well. And then when we go for something called as Azure Key Wallet, this is also like a place where you want to store the secrets in the centralized cloud location, eh, to in order to securely control access permissions and access loggings. And uh, what is the use of the Azure Key Vault is like? It would be managing the secrets, and it has the key management system and the certification management, and then it will be able to store the secrets backed by hardware security models, which is called as HSM. And what we can do when we use the Azure Key Vault is like, you will be able to use the you will be able to add the secret inside the Azure Key Vault, and you can store the password inside it, which is the secret key, right? So you will be able to store it, and that's where the Azure Key Vault is mainly used. And we will be seeing what is Azure Key Vault and where it is available and how to add the secret key inside it as well. And then when it comes for Azure dedicated host, what it means is like, it would be providing the physical servers that host one or more for Azure virtual machines that is dedicated to a single organization's workload, which is like, we do have benefits out of it. The hardware isolation at the server level is being done, and then we do have control over the maintenance event timing, and we will be aligned with Azure hybrid use benefits. And when we talk about the Azure hybrid, right, we had question yesterday saying we need some examples for Azure hybrid. Few examples of hybrid are like Slack, and then when there is something called as Azure Slack inside the hybrid itself. Sorry, inside the Azure itself, which is a kind of Azure hybrid model, and you will be able to use that. And this kind of the Azure dedicated host will get aligned with the Slack, and we will be able to get it used and get get more benefits out of the hybrid usage when we do. And moving to next one, which is secure network connectivity. In this, we would be seeing what is defense and depth, and then we will also be seeing network service group, which is NSG, and then we would be seeing Azure firewall, and then we would be seeing Azure DDoS protection. And when it comes to defense and depth, what happens is a layered approach to securing computer systems. It will be having multiple level of the protection, and it will be having the attacks against one layer are isolated from the subsequent layer. Starting from here, this is where your data lies in the image, right? So this is how it would be built as well. When it comes for the physical security, it will be having some physical security. That is the first layer that it gets affected when it comes for your um, it's a kind of a layer that is available at the first thing. And then identity and access will be the second layer. And um, perimeter, network, compute, application, these are the layers that are available next to it. And last comes your data, because data is something precious and that has to be maintained. So cloud will be providing the defense for all your data that are stored inside the cloud. And then we will be having, when something goes wrong, the first thing that gets affected uh, would be the layers that are at the front end, and the last would be the data. And then When it comes for a shared security, what will be happening is migrate. We will be having migrating. It's something like migrating from a customer controlled to cloud based data center shifts the responsibility for security. And we will be having security becomes a shared concern between cloud providers and customers. Like what you see here, we do have different responsibility that has been available here. Like either it can be physical data center or physical network, physical host, operating system, network controls, application, identity and directory infrastructure, account and access management, client endpoints, data governance, and right management. When it comes for a on premises, then everything has to be managed by the customer itself. When it comes for IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, the physical host, network, and the data center will be managed by Microsoft or any cloud provider, and all others will have to be managed by the customer themselves. And when it comes for pass, it depends on what you are opting for the directory infrastructure application and the network control. So but the all other things like operating system, physical host, physical network, and physical data center will be for sure maintained by Microsoft. And when it comes for SaaS, the identity and infrastructure alone will be given to you as optional, whereas the application and the network controls, which has been given as a choice in past, will be for sure maintained by the cloud provider itself. So this is where the shared security model exists. And when you can see the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, right? So in SaaS, if you consider only um, the customer which he wants to maintain seems to be at a reduced level, and he can be very safe when you are giving something to when you are giving the responsibility to maintain the data or data out of the security to be very safe to someone, right? So that's where happens here. So the SaaS are always super security and will be able to use it. And it does not mean that the other ones are less security. It also has the same kind of the security that it has, and we will be it depends on the infrastructure or platform or software that what you are opting for, and the kind of the cloud that what you are opting for. And then when it goes for the network security group, what will happen is it is something like a filtered network traffic to and from Azure resources on Azure Virtual Network. It will be setting inbound and outbound rules to filter by source and destination IP address, port, and protocol. All these are related to security part and the network security part. And then uh, since it has the network security, we would be adding the multiple rules as needed within the same subscription, and depending on the subscription limit that it needs. And Azure by itself as a default will be giving you a basic security rule to the new NSD which are being allocated. And depending on the subscription and what kind of the subscription that what you are opting for, it would be deciding on the network security, network security, that what it has to do, and the Azure resources that what you are actually delivering to. And when it comes for override default rules with higher new responsibilities, the Azure network security groups will be responsible for providing the higher responsibility rules that is needed for your cloud security. And then when it comes to Azure firewall, it is like the regular thing that acts as a firewall, right? It's the same thing that's available in Azure firewall, where it's a firewall as a service that grants or deny the server access based on originating IP address in order to protect your network services or network resources. And when it applies, it will be applied in both inbound and the outbound traffic filtering rules. And we will be having the built-in high availability as always, because it always runs in cloud, and we do have a different region for it, and we do have a backup for it, so it will be highly available for us as always. And then we will be having the unrestricted cloud security, like what we saw in the previous point itself. We can change from one zone to another zone, right? So it depends on the scalability or how do you want to get it stored. So we don't have any restriction inside the cloud, so it's all unrestricted cloud, cloud scalability. And we have the uses of the Azure monitor logging as well. So Azure firewall is something which will be having the um, use which will be having the benefits of all these things, and will be running all over the time, and will be making you beneficial. And we will be having Azure application gateway, which will be providing which provides us a firewall, which is web application firewall, WAF. And WAF provides centralized inbound protection for your web applications. So whenever you want to go ahead and use the web application, you would be choosing the uh, Azure application gateway, and you would be using it, which will be making you safe under the web, and make you work for you. And moving to next one, which is DDoS protection, which is distributed denial of service protection, which is available in Azure. Like, let us start explaining from the image and go back to the explanation that what we need. Whenever the attacker comes, he will be checking on the Azure backbone. And this is where your Azure virtual network lies. And the Azure DDoS is something like which will be the layer that is before your virtual network and after your backbone, so that whenever the attacker comes and tries to access your virtual network, the DDoS will be denying the attacker's access, and will be making it not possible to access the virtual network itself. Like, what does the security guard for our house does, right? So it acts in such a way, and it will not be allowing to enter inside the virtual network itself. Or you can mention it as an CCTV, that it works for cloud. And when it comes for the explanation part, what happens is DDoS attacks overwhelm and exhaust network resources, making apps slow or unresponsive. we will be sanitizing unwanted network traffic before it impacts service availability. And what will happen is the basic service tier is automatically enabled in Azure. Whenever the attacker tries to come in, then the basic tier alone will be automatically enabled, and all other things will be disabled, and that becomes unresponsive. And when it comes for standard service tiers, this will get added mitigation capabilities that are tuned to protect Azure virtual network resources. So you would be having a good enough protection that is available whenever the attacker tries to attack you, and all the virtual network are being safe. So that's the main usage of the distributed denial of service protection. And then when it comes to defense in depth, which is what we saw earlier, it's been reviewed again here. We we will be having the we are combining network security solutions, right? And inside NSGs with Azure firewall to achieve defense in depth. And perimeter layer is something which will be protecting your network boundaries with Azure DDoS protection and the Azure firewall. And this layer is something like what we saw in the image right now. This is where the DDoS will get light, and this is this will be having the Azure um, firewall and the DDoS as well. And networking layer only permits traffic to pass between network resources with network security group, which will happen for both inbound as well as for outbound rules. So what will happen when it comes for a network layer is like, it would it would be checking for all the traffics that are being sent, right? So we will be having a traffic which is more secure when it comes to data at the last. So that's where all the layers that are lying here plays the major role. And this is where we stop right now, and we will be going back and we will be checking at the uh, portal on how to create resources on whatever things that what we had discussed for now. And the first thing that what we saw is like creating an Azure IoT device, right? So we will go ahead and see how to create an IoT device. When you want to create something, like I said, you can click on this button and search on IoT device, which is IoT hub. And inside the IoT hub, you can create the IoT hub. And once it is done, you would need a resource group that what you need for, and a IoT hub name that what you that it expects for, and the region should be of the nearest region that is available to you. And post that, you can give the connectivity configuration that what you need, which is like private access or public access. Private access is something like when you or your within your organization alone can use it, then that becomes the private access. And when it comes for a public access, the third party can also get access to it. And when it comes for the pricing tier, you will be having the different tier available for us, like standard tier or standard tier which will be having the three different things in it. Depends on the we can see the uh, messages which will be available, like these many messages will be available for per day, and this would be the cost that it would be incurred. And then when you click on the standard 2, you can send these many messages, and the cost would be on the this amount. And since this, it depends on all the tires that are available here. And for now what I do is I choose a free tire, since it's just a demo that what we are going to do. I am just choosing for free tire and I am moving on. And once we are done, this is where we can give name and value pair if needed. And these all things are not mandatory ones. And then we are going to review and create. So it's now in process, and it would say if there are any errors, and it would be letting us create. So it is initializing the deployment, and also it is now submitting the deployment. Once that is been done, we will be getting the resource that has been created for us. Since the deployment is in progress, we will be having the we have to wait until the resource gets allocated to us. Once the resource has been is allocated, what we can do is we can go inside the resource, and we will be able to use the resource, and we can connect it to the another IoT device that has been available, and we can make it work. So since I don't have any option to connect with any IoT device, I will just say the steps that what we need to do, and we will move on to the next part of the demo, that what we can look for. And since we are running short of time, I am I thought to, like, since we have covered the two modules by today, and the second part, which is like the last two modules, is of easy part. So few things we would take it up by tomorrow, and we can work on that tomorrow as well. And for now, what I do is I am opening the resource, and here it also states that it 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 has some kind of the uh, message, right? So what you can also do is, this is where your dashboard lies, like how did you use your iot hub usage, like how many message that what you had sent, or what is your daily message quota, and all these things get lies here. And device to the cloud messages or connected devices, that what you have, and then what you have for your iot device. All these things are being here available to you. And when you want to connect it, what you can do is, like, you can add in a code here saying that connect with the IoT device that what you want, and you will be able to connect the devices that what you are expecting for. So when you want to connect your IoT device, you would need few things, like how would you how would you do your, sorry, how, what kind of the IoT device that what you are expecting, and what would be the message that would be coming out of the IoT device, and how it would be delivered to the cloud. So all these things are being available to us, and we will be able to um, we have to think of all those things and make it integrate here. Like what we saw, we can deploy the config once we are done with all the configurations and everything. We will be able to deploy the solution by deploying here. And since we haven't created anything, right, so you would be clicking on here and adding the development the um, or the what kind of the configuration that what you have to do. After the configurations you have to deploy. So once you create the once you create on deployment, you will be having the deployment id and the name that what you want to give. And then when you give review and create, like what we did on the resource creation, right, so you will be having the deployment also been in place. And once it is all done, you will be able to use the you will be able to um, use the IoT devices being connected here as well. And one more thing that what we saw is like setting up the cost alert. We saw something like cost alert setup demo, right? I am covering I am covering here as part of the same resource group as well. And what you can do here is like you will be able to, once you click on the create budget, what you can do is you can add the filters based on the days that what you want. And it the filter not just lies in one thing. You can add multiple filters based on the thing that what you need. And then your dashboard will be created here based on the filters that what we do. And the budget details will be something like when you give a budget here, and when you give a um, billing month based on the subscription that what you are having, and based on the creation date and based on the expiration of this budget that what you can have. So you will be having the you will be having all these datas. And then this particular resource will have the budget, right? So sorry, this particular resource will have the money to be paid, right? So when this particular resource reaches the budget amount, your mail gets triggered is what the meaning is. So you have to give here the whole amount that what you are actually expecting for. And since I had um, missed out few things, it is not allowing me to actually, it will not actually allow me to create. And then what kind of the alert condition that what you need, like whether it's a actual or of the percent, what kind of the percent of the budget when you are reaching, uh, you will be getting you when you use some m- mobile data or something, you will be getting a message saying you have used 50% of your mobile data or 20% of your mobile data, like that, right? So that's the same kind of the thing that what you would be getting from here as well. So you can set all those things on whatever the percent of the budget that what you have been trying to use. So the percent of the budget meaning the budget value will be the 100 value. And from that, whatever the percent that what you have been using, it would be triggering the mail. And not just mail, it would be say it's 5%. So it would be taking the value by itself. And you have to set the action group. And then we can have yeah, since action group should have at least one email address. Since we haven't given any email address, it is not allowing us to take the next step. You can mention here the you can mention here the email or the address that what you have, and then the language that what you can opt for, and post that what we can do is you can give a create. Once you create that, it would be creating and validating, and it would be creating a budget for yourself and will be doing. Can you see here like budget was created? So it's all something like what you give name for it and how do you want to make it useful for you. So we saw like three demos for now. One is like Azure, connecting an IoT device, and then we saw something like how to create the budget, and we will also be seeing like how does the cognitive service in Azure works. When you search for the cognitive service itself, it would be coming for you. When it comes for the cognitive service, it would be giving you options like speech, language, or vision, decision, Azure, Open AI. All these things will be available to you. And when you just for uh, demo purpose, what you can make is like earlier we had something like Q&A maker which will be used for the chat bot, right? So when you want to just give for uh, question and answer kind of thing, you would be going for a Q&A maker. And translator is something like when you want to translate it into some other language, then that becomes the translator. And language understanding is like when it comes for when it comes for what kind of the logic that is used in your app, it comes under the language understanding. Then language service is like how to build your apps. So these all things are being part of the cognitive service, out of which let's take a simple example and work on it. Like you would be creating a speech one, and I'm just clicking on for the speech service, and we will be again reusing the same resource that what we had created yesterday. We have to give the name for it, and I am giving a name for it, and you can opt for the tier, right? So I am opting for the free tier for now, and I am creating a service for the same. So once that service is being done, what you can do is you will be able to use that and integrate it with the service that what you have to actually use for the deployment is in progress. Once it is done, let us see. Deployment is now succeeded, so we are going inside the subscription. So sorry, we are going inside the resource, and now, yeah, this is where our end keys actually lies. um I am not showing the keys right now. There will be two keys that are available to us when you go for all the kind of the service that are available for cognitive services. You will be having one API endpoint, and the data the region where it is being located at, and it will be having two key that are being given, meaning it will be having two different um, uh, two different uh, two different keys, out of which you can use any one of it and make it work for you. This is the endpoint, and out of these two you can use any one for you. Like it's mentioned here, um, it is a it is not recommended to share the keys that are available to you. So never share your key, so that if I have it, if I have it and if I click on the show keys, and if it gets displayed, then you can just copy the link and you can just use the key that is available and make it work for you. So you should never give that option to anyone. And what in what way it has been used is all about the is all about how you want to make it work for you. Like you can always opt for the API that is available, and you have to copy this. And the kind of the action that what you have to do is, you have to go to the speech studio, and inside the speech studio you will be able to use the, yeah, it will be assigning you some kind of steps that what you have to do. Since yeah, you have to create the projects, and then you have to create few things that needs to be done as part of the initial steps. And then you have to enter the uh, API key that has been there, and API value, and then key. And once it is all done, you will be able to use the um, speech cognitive service. And it's not just for speech. For all the different kind of the cognitive service, it's the same step. So you have to click on the language studio. Language will have a different studio for itself, and you have to click on it, and it would take you to that page that what you have to create the projects, and you will be able to do. So you have to decide on what kind of the sample code that what you are opting for. And it will be having the various things that what it you have to actually do. And you have to select, and based on, yeah, we do have a sample code here, right? So this kind of the sample code, you have to take it, and with the help of the Visual Studio, you have to call the APIs, and with the keys you will be able to use the function, is what the cognitive services is all about. Okay. And then we have the rest of the things that are need to be done, and we would be seeing those things by tomorrow. I do have two more uh, two more lab sessions alone to be covered, which I would be taking, like vault key vault, and other thing would be on the security part. So I would be taking those things alone by tomorrow. And um I am stopping here for any questions that are there for today.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you so much, ma'am. And also, it was a really insightful one. And we received one question in the chat box that, like, how to use Azure cognitive functionality from zero.
Okay. From zero, in the sense it is from starting, or from
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
from scratch. If they just want to have a beginner guide.
Okay. That is documentation that is available in the Azure document itself, like
Okay.
MS Learn portal. And
Hmm.
maybe I can share the link by
Okay.
tomorrow. Is that fine? And
Yeah.
also with the it will be having the steps that are available.
Mm-hmm.
And with the help of that, we will be able to create that from the scratch and build the cognitive services, and will be able to get that.
Perfect. I'll just share the stuff with you tomorrow. That's
Hmm.
the one. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in. It was really, really great having you, and I'm pretty much sure this was very much insightful for others as well at the same time. Because when it comes to AZ-900, this is the beginner, obviously, the beginner certification that everyone used to do, and it's very much important. And the journey starts from this only. So yeah, with that note, thank you so much. And obviously, if you want to have if you have any sort of queries, you can just drop down your queries to our Discord server, which is coming here, or you can just directly DM ma'am. She's very much happy to resolve all your doubts.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Thank you so much for hosting the session, and thank you for.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.